Here's the story, my friends, and let the censorship begin. I think it was 2018, they went after Alex Jones. They went after, who else did they ban? Laura Loomer, Milo Yiannopoulos. Who else got caught up in that? It was a big wave of people that got...
Sargon, he got it early, I think. But that
I don't think he was
political.
part of that wave. Paul Joseph Watson, I think they went after him. They got rid of his Instagram. And it was a bunch of just pictures of him like smoking a cigarette with the sunset behind him. And it's like, that was just gotta go. You got rid of him. Well, here's the story. Glenn Beck's show removed from Apple Podcasts. The tech giant gave the podcaster no warning prior to his show's removal. Scary stuff. He put out this video saying, what's the issue? In a video shared to X, the podcaster said the email from Apple's podcast team contained a link, though the link brought him to another page informing him his podcast has been removed from the platform. We found an issue with your show, the Glenn Beck program, which must be resolved before it's available on Apple Podcasts. He said, I cannot imagine what they're basing this on. The podcaster said Apple's removal of the Glenn Beck program was crazy and encouraged people to share his post and demand Apple Podcasts reinstate the show. If this was not Glenn Beck, if it was any other podcast, they would not be restored. It's only because it's a high-profile personality in political commentary. I bet Apple nukes tons of shows all the time, and they're smaller shows that maybe will get only a few thousand downloads per episode. No one knows it's happening. Glenn Beck said, looks like Apple restored my 3,000 plus episodes to their platform, but still don't have clear answers as to why this happened. Hope to have an update for you tomorrow on radio. I want to thank everyone on the left, right, and everyone in between who spoke up today. I wish I had better answers from Apple on what happened, but you gave me hope that the issue of censorship is still bigger than politics. There were a lot of people on the left who were saying, okay, look, man, like, you know, you might not like Glenn Beck, but that's kind of crazy. They nuked his show.
It's weird that it seems like they've got like a kill switch for essentially entire channels. I mean, maybe it makes sense there.
Rogue employee, like with when Donald Trump got banned from Twitter. Remember that?
Yeah, but there's even still, it's like if there is a rogue employee that's actually doing the, you know, shut it off or whatever, it seems like it's something that's fairly simple for someone to do. As in, there's not a lot of backups. It doesn't seem like there's checks and any kind of checks or anything, whatever, you know?
I would think that it would be like either one of the lead developers or like one of the owners of Spotify. Was it Spotify? Apple Music? Is Apple Music? So it's
Podcasts.
like usually most employees don't have access to shutting off channels completely unless you're like a really well trusted, respected administrator. But even then, that would be a big risk for the company to give an administrator that kind of ability. So I'm thinking like someone up in the development chain must have, which means that it went through a series of calls. Like it wasn't just someone just decided to do it, that someone would have told someone to do it. And then they went ahead and pushed it, and then they temporarily made it invisible. To Glenn, he thought it was deleted, but they just had it like in viz mode until they could resolve something. I don't know.
This happens a lot, and I wonder if this is a shot across the bow for conservative commentary, and Glenn Beck being a conservative commentator, but also obviously anybody who is supporting Trump in any way, pushing back on the narrative machine. I saw this clip. Vivek Ramaswamy was talking to Neil Cavuto. And Cavuto was like, Donald Trump's now been indicted, 90 some odd counts. And Vivek was like, clearly it's political. And Cavuto goes, you don't think even one of them? I mean, certainly. And Vivek is like, no. Cavuto argues why Trump actually is guilty because there's so many charges. Vivek makes an excellent point saying, we cannot become a country that simply says because there are so many charges, one of them must be true. No, you're innocent until proven guilty. But that shows you where Fox News is at. Obviously, Fox News is anti-Trump, pro-establishment. They get rid of Tucker Carlson. We know what's going on. Now they're arguing that Trump must be guilty in some way. Then they go after people like Glenn Beck. They're going to try and take down independent media. We've already got people in the super chat before the show started saying they can't find this show. Well, yeah, this happens all the time. It should appear on the front page of your YouTube when you go there if you're subscribed. A lot of people are like, I can't find it. We've actually had people say they go to the YouTube channel for Timcast IRL and there's no live stream. It's just not there, not visible for them, even though we're live with 30,000+ people watching. If you go to youtube.com/live, typically every night we are the #1 live show, but people still have a hard time to find it. That's one way you can find it. We're going to get into 2024, and you better believe it. They're going to get rid of anybody. Here's what I think. If you're pro DeSantis, you'll probably be okay. If you are pro Trump, you will probably be hidden. I
think people, if they want to watch the show, can go to timcast.com every night at 8 p.m. And then you can link to it from the website's front page. So start going to, if you're having trouble, if you ever think you have trouble, or you don't want to ever have trouble, go to timcast.com at 8 o'clock Eastern.
It's right there on the homepage.
You can link it through to the YouTube if you want to watch it from YouTube, or you can just watch it on the website.
I think, though, to the Apple point specifically, conservatives have this kind of consensus of thinking that, corporations are untouchable because we all worship at the altar of the free market, right? But what we're seeing is that these corporations are taking our freedoms. They're acting as tyrants. So I think we need to get a lot more comfortable on the right with, trust busting certain corporations or really enforcing certain laws and just ensuring that they are protecting the liberties that the Constitution entrusts to every single American.
It's a bigger issue of the Republicans. They don't do anything.
Yeah. No, they write strongly worded letters. That's right. That's what our party does. I mean, just
they're really good at it.
Yeah, no, we are. I mean, in the wake of the Fulton County indictment, all we're doing is tweeting. We see, Kevin McCarthy and various GOP leaders just putting out statements and fiery tweets. There's zero action. And I think the base wants action. The American people see this stuff. They're enraged. They're infuriated. They want retribution. That's why they love Donald Trump. But I think they're frustrated with the kind of establishment, Washington, D.C. cartel that's just doing nothing.
What kind of action could people take? Like legal, righteous action. Because I'm racking my brain. What could people do?
In terms of corporations, I mean, there's a lot that you can do. Like, these corporations are too massive, number one. They collude with the government. There needs to be a lot more barriers there. That kind of, we saw with the Twitter files, right? That the government was actually asking Twitter to do things, and then they were, complying in a sense. So we need to be sure that there are protections in place so that kind of collusion can't happen.
So make them. That's What would that look like though? Like making them do it in public. I mean, there's always can't force people to talk in public.
Yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be a period of a lot of transparency, and we're seeing a little bit of that with the weaponization committee that's happening in Congress right now. We're seeing some of these files start to come out, and we're getting evidence. So I think we need more of that. I think we need to kind of uncover what's been done, and then we can kind of go after these corporations and make sure that they are serving the interests of the American people. When our founders conceptualized what a corporation would be, it was kind of akin to a British charter. It had to serve the common good. It had to be publicly beneficial to the people that lived in that country. And I think now, if you look at most modern corporations, I mean, they act as tyrants. They don't serve the American people at all.
When did that happen? It was like 1850s or so? When did the modern corporation take over?
It was, let's see. The first American corporation was organized in 1894 as Orange County Title Company, succeeding the two businesses, the business of two title abstract companies founded in 1889 and operating in Orange County, California.
That's like right before Rockefeller got a stranglehold on Standard Oil on the country through Standard Oil, and then they eventually broke up Standard Oil, turned it into like six other oil companies that Rockefeller still had a piece of, so it didn't really
And now
slow
you
them
have
down.
multinational corporations too. Like, you have corporations that are working at the behest of the global elite, not even just, American-centric or focused. They're caring about, what Klaus Schwab wants.
And you can't, so for the American government to go to like BlackRock and tell it to do something, BlackRock's like, well, where's their headquarters? Is it even in the US right now? I'm not sure. Is it in Switzerland or whatever? But they don't have to, because they're not American. But then, so we could be like, you can't operate here unless you play by our rules, which, as long as we're a strong, robust economy and a force, that's has bargaining power. But if people don't take the US seriously and we tell Google like, hey, unless you free your software code, you can't function in the United States, they might just shut down the United States. So it's like,
and we could do shows of force like that. Like, we could tell Apple, hey, like, no, or Amazon, no more manufacturing in China. And if they do, we seize their boat when it arrives at a port in California.
Ooh. I'd love to see if at any point it was possible Republicans actually exert some kind of power. They just don't.
Well, yeah, that's. I honestly, I think that's asking more than is reasonable to expect.
And what would you get from libertarians? They would be even worse with exerting power. They'd be like, no, it's against our ethos.
Yeah. You'd get a Dave Smith X space at 8:00 p.m. Eastern right while we're doing our show. Dave, yeah, they're doing a live space, you libertarians. No, I'm just kidding.
But like, if libertarians got elected, they'd be like, oh, drat, they're doing awful things again.
Well, what could they do exactly? Like, firstly, why do you think that there's such inactivity on the side of both political parties? And secondly,
both?
Yeah.
No. They just indicted Trump's lawyers.
Oh, I mean,
Dems
righteous activities.
are playing hardball. Like,
right,
they
okay,
get it.
Well, the reason why there's demonic activities on the side of Democrats is because they're evil, power-hungry psychopaths. And the reason why there's inaction on the part of the Republicans is because they're actually Democrats who are power-hungry psychopaths, but they're only wearing Republican masks.
So the uniparty bought out by the corporations, and they're just floating. while we're all down under the deck trying to put the fire out.
There's a handful of Republicans who are legitimate. Some of them are more libertarian leaning. Some of them are MAGA or anti-establishment. But there's like 20 of them.
Yeah.
The other option is boycott, but that's only
Boycott what?
Boycott Apple.
No, but the boycotts are working.
Yeah, exactly.
Disney's shares are at risk because of news reporting about there's another boycott happening, and they're starting to freak out. Target lost for the first time in 6 years massive amounts of money, and their stock dropped by like 27%. Bud Light is on the verge, is collapsing.
That's fair enough, but Apple. There was one point in the past couple of years where Apple had more actual cash than the federal government.
That's wild.
Like that was a real thing. So whereas yes, I get like boycotts can move the needle and stuff. I'm not sure Apple is who.
Yeah, I don't want to
be able to because Apple's looked at as more of a global company too. They're selling iPhones all over the whole world. So I mean, and hey, I'm only telling you my impression. I was wrong about the Bud Light boycott in the first place. I didn't think it was a good idea, and apparently I was wrong about that. So fair enough. But I think Apple's a bit of a different company. So
yeah, I'm not too concerned with Apple. And only because Glenn Beck they got rid of his podcast. That is the one that came out of my mouth. But any kind of multinational company or American company that's actually de facto multinational that's betraying our interests, we could boycott or at least attempt to. But then if these companies get too integrated in our society and you try and boycott them, like I want to boycott Microsoft. Are you kidding me? Like all my computers are running Windows right now. I don't know.
You can get Ubuntu and use Wine.
I've tried that, but I can't game.
It's not good.
Yeah.
For those not familiar, Wine is a way to run Windows programs on Linux. It's just not good.
Yeah.
But I love Ubuntu. And it is really awesome that people have built this like open source and a lot of free software on the platform. It's cool. It's cool that it exists.
Only thing I know about Ubuntu is that's what I used when I was mining Ethereum.
Well, I'll tell you about it is it makes tons of money for massive multinational corporations.
Oh, that's
because when they need to operate like point of sale terminals or self checkouts, why pay for a license for Windows as your operating system when Linux is free?
Yeah.
So a bunch of them, they use Linux. A bunch of servers use Linux because they're like free software. There you go. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.